With July wrapping up the Malazan read-through, a read-through that has taken up basically the better part of almost an entire year for me to do on this entire channel, I was looking forward to starting a new big series. What was going to be the next big series that I started in August? And at the end of the day, I chose actually not to. I'm going to take a month off from big series, and I'm going to focus on a standalone book that I've been meaning to get to for a very long time. Hello and welcome to another TBR video. Today is the August TBR and we will be starting with, as usual, the books that I'm going to read. Then I'll talk about the Patreon pick for the month of August. And then last but not least, I will talk about manga, because manga is a little bit of a mess right now and I don't really have a set thing for the TBR. We'll talk about manga when we get there. Anyway, the books that I'm reading is we're going to start with Assassin's Quest, the last book in the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. I have been working my way through these the past couple of months, and they are just wonderful. They are so good. They're so engaging to read. They're fun. I just really have been enjoying these Farseer books quite a bit. I will be doing my review of the second book in the wrap-up for this month, so we'll be looking forward to that. Also, I haven't been doing dedicated individual book reviews for the Farseer books, but I will probably do a video once I get done with the trilogy, and I'll just do a overall review for the entire trilogy. So far, I think it's going to be pretty good. So far, I'm having a good time. I'm looking forward to the third book in that trilogy for sure. Next up, I'm moving into a book that I've been wanting to get to for quite a while, and that is The Last Unicorn. The Last Unicorn is the story of a unicorn. She is the last of her kind. She's going to leave her magical forest and go on a journey, an adventure, looking for the rest of her kind, essentially. And she's going to be joined by a magician or a wizard or something like that. And it's just, I've been slowly working my way through kind of like my childhood. The last one I read was Watership Down, and it was a movie that I grew up watching and loving and adoring. The Last Unicorn is a movie that I grew up watching and loving and adoring. Back in my day, it was the kind of thing where you recorded it off a TV on like a VHS tape, and then you wore that fucker out because you watched it so many times. That was me with like The Dark Crystal and The Labyrinth and The Never-Ending Story. Actually, I have The Never-Ending Story back here too, which is another one that I need to read, which is like I want to get to, because it's just, I'm right in the middle of this journey of like reading the books that a lot of my childhood movies were based upon. Anyway, long story short, I'm excited to get to The Last Unicorn, and I hear really good things about this one, which is kind of like in the same way that I heard really good things about Watership Down, and I was not let down by that book, and I really don't think I'll be let down by this one, but you never know. Although I will say The Last Unicorn's one of those ones where when you were a child in the late 80s, early 90s, and you watched that and you loved it and you went to your friends, it was a little less known than, say, something like The Never-Ending Story was. That was, everybody knew what The Never-Ending Story was, and you're like, and The Last Unicorn, and there were a lot of people were like, and the what? So that one was maybe not as popular, at least in the circles that I ran in. Then next up, continuing on my journey of trying to introduce female authors that I have not read. This is the very first one that I ever said I was going to get to, and I have read probably at like 10 female authors before I ever got to her. I don't know how she keeps getting pushed back on the list, but I am finally getting to Margaret Atwood. And we're going to start with The Handmaid's Tale. And this was a real coin toss for me, because I actually obsessively read the back book flaps of this and Oryx and Crake over and over and over again, and I think Oryx and Crake actually sounds like something more up my alley, but for some reason I ended up going with The Handmaid's Tale just because this is the one that is so culturally relevant. It's just probably the one that is the most culturally relevant. It's like not having The Handmaid's Tale in your backlog of books that you've read is like not having 1984. At least that's what it feels like. So I decided, you know what, let's go with this one. I'll get to Oryx and Crake eventually, I'm sure, just because it sounds so fascinating and so intriguing to me. But I'm going to start here. And I don't even know what it's about. It's the post-apocalyptic future of a world where people are having less and less babies, so mankind eventually kind of makes these handmaids, which is basically just breeding women, I think. And it's really, what if dystopias had, a problem with having babies? So we just create breeding stock of our women that can actually have babies. Sounds fascinating. Sounds like a real utopia. That was a joke. Anyway, all jokes aside, it sounds good, and I'm excited to get to that one. I'm mostly excited just to get to some Margaret Atwood because I've been interested in her for a long time. And then last but not least is, of course, that book that I was teasing at the beginning, because this is where the Malazan book would normally fall, and I don't have one of those to read. So I'm going to pick up Little Big by John Crowley. Now, this is a book that I have heard about ever since, I don't know, probably a year at least, maybe a year or 2 years, that people have been dropping this one just casually into my comment section on YouTube videos. It piqued my interest when they started doing this, probably around the time I was doing the Gormenghast read through, and I just kind of wanted to go into it then, and it's been on a little list of books that I need to get to for a long, long time, and I never have had a chance to pick it up. I don't even know what it's about. It's like, let's read the back together right now. John Crowley's masterful Little Big is the epic story of Smokey Barnable, an anonymous young man who travels by foot from the city to a place called Edgewood, not found on any map, to marry Daily Alice Drinkwater. As was prophesied, it is the story of 4 generations of a singular family in a house that is many houses on the magical border of an other world. It is the story of fantastic love and heartrending loss, of impossible things and unshakable destinies, and of the great tale that envelops us all. It is a wonder. I don't know, it sounds good. It's like this story about this house that's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, and if my understanding is correct, he takes these big tangents where he focuses on fairies and other worlds and the tarot. I don't know. But everything I hear and read about it just sounds super fascinating, sounds right up my alley, sounds like something I'm really going to enjoy. Maybe. Time will tell. But if I was a betting man, or at least from the descriptions and what I've researched about it, it sounds like my kind of book. Moving right along, we will be moving into the Patreon pick for the month of August, and this month the Patreon pick will be The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin, and this was picked both by 2 patrons, one being Andamira, the other being Gela Jones. And because I roll a die to see which one wins, I had to assign 2 numbers on the die to the 5th season because everybody gets a vote. It's only fair. So it was interesting. I was curious how that was going to play out, just because I've never had 2 people nominate the same book before. So technically it had kind of double the chances of anything else on the die, technically. I mean, they ganging up on the other patrons like that's not fair. That's all I'm going to say. No, I'm kidding. And anyway, speaking of the 5th season, I don't know anything about it. I do know it's like a fantasy style book in another world that's not our world. And it's like this one supercontinent, and there is this, every so many years, there is this climate thing that happens called the 5th season, and we go from there. I also know that it won the Hugo Award for Best Novel. So if there's back when I think the Hugo Award kind of still meant something. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know what to expect or what to think. I'm going in a little bit blind because what I just told you is what I literally just Googled before I turned the camera on. Other than that, I know nothing. And this hasn't been on my radar ever. So I can't say, oh, this sounds like something I'd like, or this sounds like something I wouldn't like. All I can say is it's never been on my radar once, ever. So we're going to dive into it, and we're going to find out what happens. Go from there. And then last but not least is the manga that I'm going to be reading in August, which I don't have anything really nailed down because it took me 2 months to read Orb, because I don't know why. It just took me a minute. I was not super into it. It was really good. Although, look out for that. I'll probably include a review of it in my wrap-up for July when I do get around to doing that next week, probably. But it was good. It was just not so magnetic that I kept going back to it and reading it, and then everything else kind of got in the way. And now that I'm finished with it, or at least I'm finishing it, I've got 1 volume left, and I'll probably do that today or tomorrow. But now that I'm wrapping that up, I was looking for the next one to go into this month, and I was going to read The Ghost in the Shell, because I've got this really nice complete edition that I found. I found it on sale, and it was beautiful, and I like these big hardbacks, and I grabbed it, and I figured, oh, I'll do that for August. That'll be great. And then Mike from Mike's Book Reviews talked about 20th Century Boys and how he's starting that, and I'm only halfway through that. And I thought, oh, I'll finish that one. And then I thought, well, I'm also in the middle of Frieren, and I'm also in the middle of Vinland Saga, and there's all these manga that I'm somewhere in the middle of that I need to finish. I was like, maybe I'll focus on finishing series instead of starting a new one, like, that one there. And then the son of a bitch Goro in my Discord starts talking about Ajin, however you say that. And I remembered watching season 1 of the anime. I thought, man, that was really good. And then I made the mistake of Googling it and seeing the artwork for it. And then I got kind of excited for that. So now I want to read, oh my God. Long story short, I don't know what I'm going to read for the month of August in manga yet. I'll have to pick something and go with it. Because I was also going to read Claymore. I was going to also order some of those and get started on that, because I've been wanting to read that ever since I read Berserk. And now, what else was I looking at today? Oh, Inuyashiki. Slay keeps nominating Inuyashiki for the Patreon pick, and it keeps losing, but I'm starting to get more and more interested in it every time he nominates it, and I look a little bit more into it. I don't know what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to read something, and that's what I'm going to do with it. I don't know. Sorry for the lack of ability to make a decision. This is what happens. This is how it goes. The life of being a mood reader is a tragic and terrible one. Anyway, as always, everybody, the link for my Patreon's in the description below. The link for my Discord's in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.